We have finally reached championship week. Lots of implications with Selection Sunday just 1 week away. But first, let's take a look at the newest AP poll. Houston staying number one for the third straight week. UCLA and Alabama trading places in the top four. Lots of movers in the middle of the poll. Xavier up 4 spots to 15. Tennessee tumbling 5 spots to 17. Texas A&M still surging, up 6 to 18. And Indiana falling to 19 after that big loss to Iowa. Duke, Creighton, and Missouri returning to the poll, while Maryland, Pittsburgh, and Providence drop out. Now let's bring in Isaac Trotter for more on these headlines. Isaac, Houston keeps that top spot after a buzzer-beating win against Memphis. That last shot, maybe a little controversial, but regardless, the Cougs have the best record in quad 1 and 2 games at 13-1, and they're number one in just about every rating system. So how do you feel about Houston as the potential overall number 1 seed?
Yeah, in a college basketball landscape where there's a lot of unknowns, I feel like I know what I'm going to get from Houston every single night. They have great guards. They have great depth in that backcourt. You're talking about one of the most explosive shot makers in college basketball, in Marcus Sassard. He's got a load of help. Jamal Shedd has been in big NCAA tournament games. He was great last night with the game winner. And this is a Houston team that kind of embodies everything that Kelvin Sampson is about. They're going to play defense. They're going to hit the offensive glass really hard. If they can just get shots up and then give themselves a chance to go offensive rebound, that's a winning formula for them. And you know that they're going to play defense every single night. So Houston is a team that is trending in the right direction. I feel great about where their ceiling is. And I just love their floor too. Every single night, you kind of know what you're getting out of this group. And that's something that's underrated for the NCAA tournament. There's not many off nights for Houston. And so in a single elimination tournament where anything can happen, when you have that consistency and that reliability that this Houston team has, that gives this program like second week at upside for sure. And I feel like the Sweet 16 is their floor. Winning the national title, which is held in Houston this year, is their ceiling. And I think they're capable of doing just that.
All right, let's go to the Big 12, toughest conference out there. Texas putting an exclamation point on the end of the regular season, beating Kansas by 16, securing a 2 seed in the upcoming conference tournament. Much needed for the Longhorns after going 4-4 since the start of February. What do you think worked so well for them against the Jayhawks?
First off, their defense was terrific, but then getting Tyrese Hunter going again has been absolutely enormous for Texas. This is a Texas team that was really high on him. He was supposed to come in and be, their newcomer of the year. He was the Big 12 freshman of the year last year at Iowa State, and it really didn't materialize for long stretches during conference play, but he's starting to find his groove again. Like we were talking about a couple of weeks ago, making a story of the most disappointing transfers, and Tyrese Hunter was probably going to be number 1 on that list. Things have changed now. It helps when you make shots, and he's knocking down a lot more of his threes recently. And this is a big game player. We saw it last year in March. When the lights turned brightest at Iowa State, he was ready to roll. He took them to the Sweet 16. He was the best player on the court against LSU. He had some dominating moments in the NCAA tournament, and I would not be surprised one bit if he has a moment in the NCAA tournament, and that's what you need. Texas has so much depth. They have a lot of different guys who can go be that number 1 guy on any given night, and Tyrese Hunter might have that chance in the NCAA tournament. Maybe it's a Marcus Carr night. Maybe it's a Sir Jabari Rice night. Maybe it's Timmy Allen going to do his thing. But Tyrese Hunter is going to have his fingerprints on if Texas wants to reach its ceiling, and then maybe we take his name off of that like most disappointing transfers list that we were kind of percolating in our brain for the last couple weeks.
Yeah, Hunter averaging almost 16 points a game in his last 4, and that's after he was averaging 8 in the previous 10, so turning it up at the right time. All right, a tense scene last week in Knoxville when Zakai Zeigler left the Arkansas game early with a torn ACL. The point guard out for the season after averaging more than 10 points, 5 assists, and 2 steals per game. Isaac, what's this mean for Tennessee heading into the postseason?
Yeah, it's just awful. Zakai Zeigler is one of my guys. Like he was one of my favorite players into the season. The energy, the passion, the joy he plays with, the relentless effort that he gives on both ends of the floor. There's just a lot to root for him. I mean, we're talking about a guy who his family, his house burned down, and Tennessee raised a ton of money for him to help them get a new home. He has a real connection with Tennessee, and so to lose a guy like this is just going to really, really hurt Tennessee's ceiling. I still think this is a really good team that can make the second weekend with the right draw just because they can play defense, and you know that they have a lot of depth and a lot of different guys who can be the guy on every single night. But Zeigler is such a huge loss because of his defense, and you saw it against Auburn, those shifty guards. like Wendell Green Jr. was able to get 3 for 24 points. I don't know if that happens if Zeigler's in the lineup, with just his ability to contain the basketball on the defensive end. And then offensively, just being able to get into the lane and create for others or create for himself is something that this Tennessee offense now lacks. So you're looking at other pieces to step into a point guard role and handle those ball handling duties that they really haven't done all year long. And that's not like the time of the season to try to be experimenting. And that's what Tennessee has to do now after this devastating injury. So you just hope for the best for Zeigler. Hope he gets back on the court soon and gets back to doing what he does best. Because when he's right, he's one of the best guards in the country and such an easy player to root for.
Such a likable guy. And I don't know if you saw, but he said the first thing that went through his head was he wanted to apologize to his teammates because he didn't want to quit on them. Like, dude, just heal up. But no doubt he will be providing moral support throughout the postseason. All right, with Selection Sunday right around the corner, let's take a look at the teams on the bubble. This is according to CBS Sports' Jerry Palm. The last 4 in: Rutgers, Mississippi State, Michigan, and Penn State. His first 4 out are Utah State, Oklahoma State, North Carolina, and Wisconsin. So let's highlight a couple of these teams here. First, let me say, Isaac, I used to live in Charlotte, which is 3 hours away from the Triangle in North Carolina, but close enough to know the intense passion of the fans there. And something tells me there were a lot of bar tabs run up Saturday night. And whether those drinks were in celebration or in consolation, well, that depends which side you were on. But Duke sweeps UNC for the first time in 3 years, potentially ending the Tar Heels tournament hopes. How do you like UNC's chances now of going to the big dance?
I think they have to win the ACC tournament to make it in. I just don't see where they get an at-large bid where they're at. And it's those old habits that have just been rearing their ugly heads all year long that came into play yet again in this game. Like, they had to win this game, and UNC couldn't get out of its own way. Armando Bacot only gets 8 shots. That just can't happen. He's their most dominant offensive weapon. And UNC, here's the stat of the year for you. They are the worst Power 6 shooting team this year on guarded catch-and-shoot jumpers. You get a hand in their face, and you make them shoot a contested jumper, they're the worst team. Except they shoot a ton of them so far this year. And late in the game, down 3, what do they need? Caleb Love, contested jumper, bricks, Duke wins. And so it's like these habits that North Carolina has formed over the year just continue to come back and continue to come back. And there's a lot of heat right now on Hubert Davis. Does he need to show more emotion? Does he need to ramp it up on his guys? Like, I'm just not really there for that conversation. I think Hubert Davis is a good coach. I think it's on the players. Like, this is a player's game. It's a player's game to decide what shots you shoot. It's a player's game to play winning basketball, which North Carolina refuses to play this year. It's on the veterans. It's on Caleb Love to be a better defender and not allow a straight line drive late in the end that let Duke take the lead. It's on Caleb Love to not take the bad shot late in the clock when you can pass the basketball and try to get a better look. It's on Armando Bacot to step up and be the vocal leader that this team needs. It's on RJ Davis not to turn the basketball over. It's on these players. It's not on Hubert Davis. And if North Carolina doesn't make the NCAA tournament, it really only has itself to blame for this late season swoon.
Self-inflicted wounds. All right, a miracle finish for Penn State on Sunday, beating a previously ranked Maryland team at the buzzer. The Knits now face Illinois in the first round of the Big Ten tourney, a team they've beaten twice before. So what's the case for the Knits?
This is a really, really fun Penn State team, and I don't think a lot of people expected them to be in the mix for something like this. Micah Shrewsbury's done a fantastic job, and in the Big Ten, where it's, you have these awesome centers like Zach Edey, Trace Jackson Davis, it's a post-up league. Penn State does the same thing, except their center's 6'4", not 7'4". Jalen Pickett has been one of the best players in college basketball this year. I think he has a strong All-American case. He probably would have a better Big Ten Player of the Year case if not for Edey and Jackson Davis's dominance. But Pickett's been phenomenal for them this year. If he scores 39 points against Illinois in their first round of the Big Ten tournament, he'll have 100 points in 3 games against that team. He's just tortured them this year. And this is a Penn State team that plays small, but they are who they are. And I would not want to see them in the big dance because Penn State has their style. They're going to shoot a ton of threes. They have an All-American lead guard. They have all the recipe to make a really, really interesting run in that first weekend of the NCAA tournament, maybe upset a 6 seed or maybe give a 3 seed a lot of trouble in the round of 32. And so this is a Penn State team that if you're a bubble team or you're even a team that's had a really great season, you're kind of watching that Illinois game on Thursday being like, man, I really hope Illinois wins that game and they don't end up getting in because they can bust some brackets.
All right, yeah, I'm taking mental notes. My sleeper pick right there. All right, thanks, Isaac. And remember, we have college hoops analysis and recruiting news throughout the week. You don't have to wait for this video. So please like this video and subscribe to the 24/7 Sports YouTube channel.